Hey, tell us who you played on the Brady Bunch.
I was the cousin Oliver.
And how many episodes did you do?
6.
From the heart of Hollywood, it's the Patrick Labyorteaux with Patrick Labyorteaux.
It's the Patrick Labyorteaux, Patrick Labyorteaux. He's the one you gotta know.
Tonight's episode, Robbie Rist.
Patrick Labyorteaux, he's the one you gotta know.
Okay, you know him as Cousin Oliver, of course, from the Brady Bunch, and Michelangelo from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I know him as the snake in the grass actor who stole my part on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. But please welcome Robbie Rist.
No way, really?
Yes, really. You know this. You played
No,
David
I don't
Baxter.
know this story. I know that part, but I had no idea. Really? You read for it?
Dude, I was like all over this thing because the kid was adopted. Had one of the best lines in all of that I remember as a kid was when Ted Baxter goes, "Well, how long is the wait?" And they go, "You have to wait 9 months to adopt a child." And he goes, "Oh, that's insane. Who's ever heard of waiting 9 months to have a child?" And because you were adopted and I was adopted, I always figured, oh, easy. I'm in like Flynn. This is it. I'm going to be on the Mary Tyler Moore Show. So, yeah, it was a big deal to me.
Patrick, so what this means is that, now go with me on this, yeah. I am to you as Moosey Dryer is to me. Because I was convinced that I had Oh God in the bag. Come on. I'd already done...
Come on!
I'd already done a John Denver special.
He looks just like you. Literally, you were around before he was.
I always thought I looked more like Paul Williams. But the point is, I was like, bam, I got this one. And then, fucking Dryer. I can swear, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because I am now. It's fucking Dryer, man.
But you bring up, it's so funny you bring up Paul Williams because I have a whole list of questions because I'm a total pro at this.
Okay.
And one of my questions later on is, did you and Paul Williams ever work together? I always wanted you as the third version of that guy in Smokey and the Bandit. Have you
That's
be
hilarious.
like shorter than Paul Williams and right there with him?
Never worked with, but definitely, we've met a few times and, I know the guy ever worked with him.
I have a structure for this type of thing, but we're kind of already off of it, so don't worry about it. But I'm fascinated. No, it's okay. I'm fascinated because
I warned you, Patrick. I warned you.
It's true. You can't contain a tornado. You and Allison Arngrim are very similar.
Right on. Good.
So, with the music aspect, because Paul Williams, obviously, if you don't obviously know, is one of the greatest songwriters of all time.
Yeah.
What did that lock in with you at any point as well? Like just knowing
What
him?
do you mean?
Because, well, in the 70s, between Planet of the Apes and Smokey and the Bandit and Love Boat and Fantasy Island and talk shows, he was everywhere as a face. But then he would be writing Bugsy Malone, or he would be writing Phantom of the Paradise, or all of these great songs, evergreen, like a Muppet movie, like just all. As the musician, were you aware of this?
He wrote Rainbow Connection.
Right?
Rainbow Connection is a song that is enjoyed by 3-year-olds and 80-year-olds. And I don't know, if you play Lady is a Tramp for a 5-year-old, they may go, it's a nice beat or whatever, but I think most of the nuance is going to be lost on them.
Right.
Yeah.
No, he's like a big golden. I've been trying to get on the podcast because I just am a huge fan.
He's unbelievable.
But we have you here today,
and
so
what
let's
a man,
talk about
and also what
the amazing
a
Robbie Rist.
What a great humanitarian. Also, Paul. He after he got sober, he became a drug counselor. He's probably saved the lives of thousands of people, and now he's the president of ASCAP.
No shit.
Yeah, the guy's got a it's a pretty insane resume, and I talk a lot about I see performers out there, and I guess this is my version of when Will Smith was mapping out his career after he had his first kind of hit thing. You know, he was like, okay, you know, the biggest stars in the world of the last couple of years, how did they do it? Well, they did a science fiction film next, and then they did a warm, heartwarming family film.
Wow.
You know, kind of based it all on that. And so when thinking about that, there were artists out there that they always did more than one thing. You know, so, you know, I'm on board with Paul Williams very early because I'm a fan of Phantom of the Paradise, even though it scared the living crap out of me when I was a child. Right. But he was, like you said, he didn't. I get I get asked a lot, like, you know, what I consider myself. You know, I mean, are you an
How
actor?
How do you identify?
What are you? And I my answer is, I don't know. I'm an entertainment guy, because I've never done one thing. Like after a certain point, I mean, early on it was music and acting. And then there was writing that started happening. And then I was producing bands, and I produced a movie, and you know what I mean? So, like, you know, I guess it's hard to hit a moving target. And I think
let's get a box around that. Let's get a box around this crazy mind of yours, okay? But by the way, and now I'll go on my own tangent. I had Dean Devlin, who's a producer and friend of mine, who did Independent. Okay, so Dean's he does Independence Day. Huge. He's got a Phantom of the Opera mask in his office. He's a huge Phantom fan. And through a story with Gene Simmons at a bar somewhere, he was told that that's where Kiss got their idea, was from Phantom of the Paradise. That's his story to me. I thought I'd share that.
That makes perfect sense. Sure.
Yeah. Act 1, Beginnings. Ladies and gentlemen, Robbie Rist. None of this is going to be cut out because that's how we do it here. I got to go over a couple of stats here, which I'm just looking at. It's kind of crazy. Okay. 150 credits on IMDb, at least over that. You have a credit in every year since 1972. That's freaking crazy, man. That's amazing. So you start off, well, first of all, what's your secret origin? Where do you come from? Why are you an actor? And try to keep it under an hour.
Hey, well, but that's 3 questions. Where this show is over now.
How did you become okay, start off with, like, what got you to become an actor?
Okay, so my parents are German immigrants, and they don't come from entertainment at all. My dad was an engineer, and my mom, was largely my mom, and then she kind of became a florist a little later. And so they don't know anything about entertainment. And around 3 or 4, I start really digging on those Universal monster movies from the 30s, specifically the Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr. I don't know, something about, I mean, even then, I'm a melancholy guy. So if something has like a twinge of sadness, that even if it's something happy, I'm going to, when we're in the car, my wife goes, "You like this song, don't you?" And I go, "Yes, I love this song." She goes, "Yeah, it's sad." So anyway, Wolfman, and I tell my parents, I want to be in a monster movie. And my parents, not knowing anything about entertainment or what it's like to have an artist for a kid, they're like, right. And they ignore it. And then I say it again, and they continue to ignore it. And eventually that just becomes, I want to be in a movie. And I apparently was enough of a pain in the ass that they said, all right. They found
You were a pain in the ass?
I'm a man who knows what he wants. So,
how old were you when you were doing all of this?
5 or 6.
Okay.
6.
Yeah, that's
6.
about that.
Because yeah, I'm like sort of almost 7, but I'm 6, and so they find in the paper an open call, cattle call, if you will, looking for kids for a thing, and we all show up there, and there's like 300 kids, and my parents, of course, feeling victory in their veins, are like, "Wow, that's an awful lot of kids, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so we go and sit down. I learn my action or my words or whatever it is. And about an hour and a half in, my mom's like, "So, been here a while. You wanna go?" And I'm like, "No." So a little later, I go in and I get the job. And
do you remember what it was?
I think it was a student film.
Okay.
For a guy who was graduating like USC or UCLA, something like that. So I did the thing. We all shot at Marina Del Rey, and I got to play pretend, I guess. And on the way home in the car, I'm like, I want to do that again. And my mom's like, oh, crap and a half. So they're like, okay. They had a powwow. They're like, beginner's luck. There's no way he's going to do it again. It's impossible. My dad's a scientist, and he's like, statistically, there's no way this is going to happen. So another open call, a lot of kids waiting. Are you sure you don't want to go home? No, whatever. Go in, get the job. Okay, now they can't say no if I ask to do it again. And I was 6 deep before I didn't get one.
Whoa.
And
that is statistically impossible.
And my parents went, well, see, so you don't get every one. So you can see it's a lot, it's a very competitive job. And I'm like, no, I know sometimes you don't get every one. And I continued then to get like the next 10. I was a very driven little boy. So, and I just really dug it. I had a tremendous amount of energy. I was putting on plays for the cat daily. So like, what was I going to do? I wasn't.
So when you started working, I don't know if we ever had the same. Were you at Herb Tannen? Where were you for commercials and stuff?
I went from Mitzi McGregor to, I believe, Evelyn Schultz.
Okay. So
Tony
this a
Kellman.
time of
Tony Kellman?
Because Tony Kellman. So if you look on your IMDb, Emergency and Love American Style are your first credits, but they don't show you what commercials or anything else you're doing.
No. I did 80 commercials in my first 2 years doing the job. Yeah.
That was a deal back then where it's hard to explain to people now because everything is so fragmented, but when you only had 3 channels and one national commercial would play 5 times a night, the entire nation knew who you were. And if you were on more than one national, you were in everyone's home already long before a TV job. So
I did the first commercial for quarter pounders for McDonald's.
Whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And the commercial did so well. And this doesn't happen anymore either, right? Where you would have a cycle where your commercial would run 13 weeks or whatever.
Weeks.
It's a week now, if it's anything.
Right, and it's all new media where it's not like even it's like you get paid. My voiceover agent Paul calls it $1 a holler. It's just like it's nothing anymore as far as that goes. Because back in the day, and this is back in the 70s, seriously, my brother and I got a Cheerios commercial. It was a big national, and I made 20 grand on it over the life of the commercial, over the life, not like at one time, but still in the 70s, that was a real human. That's
ridiculous
salary.
Money for a child.
Yeah.
No,
so go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, it's an interesting. I can understand the weird transition that some young actors encounter when they start really doing most of this stuff on their own, and they have to stop being a little creature that runs on instinct. You actually have to interpret, dialogue and stuff, and when it becomes a job. I think sometimes it drives some of them crazy. But what was the point? I blew my point because we were talking about something else. I was right on top. Oh, well, it'll come back. I'm sure
it's about
really dumb.
Instinct and what it was that got you going and how you continued.
So you're going on instinct. Yeah, but why did we start talking about that?
I asked you why you wanted to do acting, and it was
Oh,
something
yeah.
you wanted. You grew up wanting.
Yeah. I mean, more than anything, yeah. I was putting on plays for the cat. I was a show off. I wanted to do it, and I proved it by doing it once I started doing it. And for 12, however many years afterwards, that my mom was driving my ass around Los Angeles, probably going, I could be writing a novel right now or taking up painting. I'm driving this little douchebag around. So at least that's what she said after I turned 18. She's like, Thanksgiving, a toast to my son. I drove you around for 11 years of my life. I'm like, Mom. Yeah.
You got to do it with the German accent.
This really, German accent. Oh, Elfrida. And look, I'm goofy. There's definitely mental issues going on there. But if I am normal at all, especially in light of what everyone says about an experience in the entertainment business, it's because of my mom. My mom basically said, "I will kill you, and I'll make another one that looks just like you. No one will miss you. And I will have solved the problem. Are we clear?" And I'd be like, yeah, we're clear. All good.
Well, you can attest to this too. Like when you walk in to an audition back then with a room full of kids, you not only judged the other kids, because this is the thing that I don't hear too many other kids talking about, which is the psychological manipulation, backstabbing, and plotting that each kid does with the other kids that they're going into audition with, right? Mm-hmm. On top of what the parents are doing. So I would walk into a room, check out the kid and check out the parent. Like, what kind of parent do they have? If there's going to be anything that throws them off their game.
It's funny you do that. My experience was that if the parent was glaring at me, that kid wasn't getting the job anyway. Because they were totally making...
It's very elegant. I mean, it's an elegant solution and an elegant reading of the room. All right, so you're doing... usually there's like this long story about, how I got started, and it was 3 years in school, and so that's our Act 1, but we don't have an Act 1 with you, because in Act 2, we go straight to the Brady Bunch. Okay, so we're here at the Brady Bunch. I mean, there's a lot before that.
I think Brady Bunch is kind of the end of Act 1. How's that?
Okay, let's do it.
Sort of like, okay, so it's a building process, right? Do a bunch of commercials, did a Jonathan Winters special, did a John Denver, did a bunch of these little one-off things, Love American style with Bill Bixby.
Sweet.
Right? Television royalty, for God's sake. Sometimes I ego search my IMDb, not looking for myself in anything, but people that I worked with. And sometimes I go, holy sheep shit, what was I doing in that room? That person.
So here's the weird thing. I do the same thing, and especially starting these TikToks that I've been doing, I got to look for video and I find all this stuff. I found an episode I did with Bill Bixby, he played my dad. But you mentioned Jonathan Winters. I did a whole like an industrial film with Jonathan Winters, who was playing Maud Frickett, where we were selling Odyssey video games. And for the entire day, because again, I think were a very smart kid. I was just oblivious. I had hair and that was pretty much about it. And I had no idea that Maud Frickett wasn't an old lady. It was this crazy old lady that I was working with. What was your experience with Jonathan Winters? Was there anything there?
I never met the man. So in this particular special, this is like, I did a gig with Mickey Rooney, never met the guy, but so they did a thing that was a Western with all of the characters being voiced by Jonathan Winters, but the different characters were little kids. Were little kids in cowboy outfits.
Oh, it's such a good idea.
And
so you were doing a straight up scene, and then later on the funny came.
Well, no, actually, I did I have to do it to track?
Oh,
I think
wow.
I
That's
might
even
have had to
harder.
have done it to track. Beep, 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 no siree, Bob, slam. It's something like that.
So
I don't
you
know, maybe I
had
have
to
look it up.
loop over his performance, not the other way around?
On the set.
That's
yeah.
harder. That's harder.
It's, or maybe they played it and then I did
Mimicked
it. I
it.
forget I forget what the process was.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, I'm 7. And look, I say that about actually, we're both men of a certain age, and yet we're still creating, we're still performing, we're still operating at a creative level that, at least if it's less than what we were when we were younger, it's not by much, right?
Right.
So
No, and that's the beauty of this business.
yeah, as kids, I did it again because I remembered what I was going to say before, which was making $20,000 on a commercial. When you're a little kid, you're like, holy shit, $20,000. When you become an adult, that becomes a different number. And the disappointment of not every job is that. That's the one you remember from when you were a kid. One of the downsides of this kid performer thing, depending on the parent, I guess, is keeping your head straight when it comes to finance.
Oh,
Does
absolutely.
that make any sense?
And understanding. Well, yeah. I mean, as kids, there's a lot of different schools. For me, they didn't hide anything from us, but at the same time, I wasn't paying bills. Allison Arngrim tells a story of like writing checks for like the power company and stuff, like for her family from her earnings. But like the reality is like, okay, just to give everybody some sort of level for this, and I'll use my numbers because I know them, is $20,000 for a Cheerios commercial over a year versus an episode of Little House that I was a semi-regular on, had a contract for, was a big TV show, was $2,400 an episode. That was it. Not that that's bad, but there's a huge difference there.
Sure.
And so so when we're kids, it's like, for me, it was just sort of like, oh, we're doing well. But like you're saying, as an adult, it's like, well, yeah, that's what you are living on, and you have to budget, you have to do all the other stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's not just like when you're a kid, I guess you kind of see it as like, whoa, free money.
Right. Yeah, because the work isn't ever the work. The work is the freaking audition room and going in and interviewing.
Oh,
and
no,
for some of us, interviewing for many things before we get anything, Robbie. We'll be back after these messages. Hey there, my name is Patrick Labyorteaux, and I play an actor on TV. And I also have this acting school called Working Actors School. And what we do there is we teach people to act using Zoom. So you can take an acting class with me and with a person in Connecticut, in Florida, and San Diego all at the same time, thanks to the miracle of Zoom. And I'm very excited to announce that we have a brand new class called Adult Weekly Class. Now, what is that? Now, that's a class that'll meet every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, and you come in and you have an hour-long acting class with other students. It's very, very simple, very, very fun. So if you've ever wanted to be an actor or try it or just mess around, these classes are great. So the Adult Weekly Class is going to be every Wednesday at 5:30 Pacific. Now, come and check it out. It's going to be really fun. Go to workingactorschool.com. Check out the website. You can sign up for the class there. If you need any other information, there's a phone number and an email on the website. You can get it there. And we would love to have you come and try. Talk to you soon. Act 2, Success. So tell us about the story about the Brady Bunch. How did you what was the audition? Was it just another audition? Had you watched the show?
All right. I was aware of the show. I had watched it, but I believe at that time I was more of a $6 Million Man viewer.
Yeah, baby.
So good.
We'll talk about Bionic Woman later, but very exciting.
So I knew about it, but before then they were going to do a spin-off show with Ken Berry. And
I'm very well aware of that. I screen tested for that, and Mike Lookaland stole my part on that show. Or not Michael Lookaland, the
Todd.
other Lookaland. Todd Lookaland, yeah.
That little bastard. Yeah. What are you
Kelly
going to do?
kids.
You know, the Lookalands, they were like a mob family. You know, the one was working, so the other ones were gonna. It's just how it goes.
Yeah, I'm all over that until Little House when it's my brother and I on the show. Then I'm really okay with it.
So I read for the Kelly kids also, and there was just no way. I was blonde. They wanted a brunette, blah blah blah. So a few years, a little bit later, so now it's a little shrouded in some sort of mystery, and not an important one, but it's something of a mystery, is that I was on Barry Williams and Chris Knight's audiocast show, and they got to talking, because they're like, I really got a sense from them over the years that they felt like I was some kind of interloper, that I, as a 9-year-old had designs on sort of getting my claws into this thing that they'd been working on for 5 years, and
Right.
but of course they gave me way too much credit because I'm not that smart and I was 9. So,
Well, there's a history. I mean, I want to get to this too, but there's a history. Like, there was
apparently-
Little Ricky on Partridge Family. There was
Yeah.
Jason Bateman on Little House. You bring in new kids as the older kids get older.
But apparently overnight, the network told the producers we should add a kid. I think it was apparently the scripts with me in them. I guess at the beginning of the year, everybody got, all the scripts were already written.
Wow.
Apparently there were 6 scripts that they shit canned, and all of a sudden these were there. From what they explained.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, and I have no idea that any of this is, so I go in and I do my 6 weeks on it, and then it's gone. Now, and then it gets canceled anyway, right? It was, the Schwartzes wanted, I think, to go out, just, look, we did good, 5 years, we can syndicate, we'll make a little money, everybody's happy. And the network went, we'd like it to continue. And they went, well, why? And they went, can't we make it, put a kid in? And they're like, we don't want to put a kid in. We don't want to put in all right, put in a kid. And then it gets canceled anyway. And then it goes away.
Well, that's the story. Okay, that's the story that we saw.
20. Yeah, it was in the top
Right.
20, okay, when it goes.
Right.
And then it disappears for a long time. I mean, but in the time that it's an Upended Comics disappeared, it is on syndication. It is in syndication 3 times a day in some markets. That's before school, after school, and after dinner. And now people have seen these episodes 20, 30, 40 times. And it morphs into this other thing that had nothing to do with the show.
Right.
And now,
let's
still talking about.
Roll this back, because that's a separate kind of part of this. What was your experience as Robbie on the set? Like, I mean, I got a chance when we were doing Kelly Kids. I got to visit the set, and I was really excited to see it. Did you enjoy your time there? Were they nice?
Yeah. No, they were super cool. I mean, mostly it's Susan and I at the time, because we're the closest in age anyway, so I'm following her around like a puppy, of course. And everybody was, I mean, most of the crew had been the same people for a long time. Mm-hmm. So they all knew each other, and everyone was super friendly with each other. And, it kind of, I don't know, a different atmosphere. I don't know. I don't know what it's like on modern things. I don't know what it was like on JAG or what have you.
Right.
Back then, it just seemed like, everybody kind of, the whole thing was tied in together. Nobody was necessarily
funnily, Jag shot on the same stage as you guys shot Brady Bunch.
No,
but let's
stage
go.
5?
Yeah, over at Paramount. So let me ask you this: You're this kid that puts yourself in the business, gets all of this work. this, at least from the IMDb, is like your first regular role. Were you aware of what that was? Were you aware of what that meant? Were you excited by being on the show week after week?
I had been on the set the year before, or 6 months before, shooting an anti-smoking little short movie that they showed in schools. So I'd been on the set already.
Congratulations by stopping smoking. You did a good job.
Completely. No, it was a very effective campaign.
Yeah.
At that point, like I said, I mean, I'd been working for 2 or 3, 2 years, and steadily. So it really, from doing this, it got to a point where after you worked enough, you sort of walked on a set and you immediately walked up to the second AD and you're like, where are the honey wagons? And they're like, oh, come with me. And you're like, all right, so here's wardrobe. And they, you know what this whole process is. When you're younger, your mom or your guardian.
But were you excited? This is so weird. You're just kind of not connecting with this idea. Like, I guess, maybe, I don't know. You were always working, but were you excited to like go to work at the same place or have that? When I talked to Ike Eisenman, his goal in life was to be on a show like so that he didn't have to audition. That doesn't seem to be you.
Yeah, auditioning seems to me like, I don't know. I was like Richard Burton in The Wild Geese. I was a mercenary, always searching for his next job. I always felt a lot like a trench warfare guy, where I was the guy that the machine gun nest is over the hill, and I'm the idiot who goes on and tries to take it out. So, like, to me, I was
Brooks.
like just like every audition was like, all right, let's take this one on. And here's the other thing that I think Ike missed. It's become so painfully obvious to me in the last 10 or 20 years that those rooms where we used to congregate to wait for our turn to go into the little room with the one light and the video camera, sometimes with the dialogue written out on a white card, sometimes see, I did it again. There's so much to talk. So you go in there and you go in this room and you read the card and the whole thing, but out in the lobby, you talked to, shared stories with, did dialogue with all of these other people in the room. And in between doing your bit, it's like, hey, you want to run the words? You run the words. And then you're like, so what have you been doing? I read on a thing, or I'm writing a thing, or, oh man, okay, so I did a job with this guy and he told me this joke and it goes like this. Whatever. All of that stuff that happened in those rooms made me an actor. All the classes didn't do shit. Because by the time you were done with everybody in that room, because everybody's trying to get their energy up to perform, by the time you walked into that room, you were ready to eat a fucking chair. You know what I mean?
I know that feeling. Oh man, it's you make a joke about going to war and going over the hill, but that's the feeling, the endorphin rush, all of the things that happen, which no matter what age you are, that's all part of it. And it was very, very tactile at that point. Obviously now we'll send in an MP3 or we'll do a self-tape, but then it was literally just talking with people and turning a person's opinion of you in the room based on what you wanted
audition.
Them.
My last audition that I did that was self-tape. The, I'm sure, 24-year-old director wanted more than one camera angle. And at this point, I was getting a little irritated with the whole self-tape process anyway. So for my second take, I said, just so you know, it looks like you don't know how to direct and you have to get ideas from other people. So I'll direct your movie for you. That's fine. I will also produce it. I've done that. I can write. I'm a good writer. So, whatever it is you need, but I gave you one take Thank you. Boom. Off it went. Because
Did you get the part?
Yeah, there's a downside to principal. But
No, that's true. I had an audition where I was in a movie called Heathers, and I played this football player in Heathers, and it's my favorite
It's
movie,
one of my
right? It's my
favorite movies.
favorite. And it's like, I love the script. If it was not anything on my resume, I would still be a big, huge fan of the film. So I do the movie. They decide they're going to do a TV show. And I read the script, and I'm like, oh, I kind of roll my eyes. They kind of missed the whole point of what Heathers was about, but they're going to do this TV show. And I'm going back and forth like, I need the work. I should. So I called my agent. And I said, okay, if it comes out that, there's an offer on the table, let me know and we'll talk numbers, right? Well, I get a call from the agent. The agent says, okay, they want to meet with you, right? I'm like, okay. So I figure I'm going to meet with them and talk with them. And then about an hour to 2 hours before I start going out to drive out to the meeting, they say, actually, it's an audition. And I'm like, but I was in the movie. And they go, well, it's for the principal because it's a different character. So, you're going to have to read with the producers. And I'm like, okay. It's like, I've always been the type of person that I hate the people that goes, I won't read, because it's like, that's your job. You're an actor. If they have a question, if you're going to be in this project, blah, blah, blah. But I was still pissed off. So I got quickly to my computer and I adjusted my resume. And when I got to the audition, I handed them my headshot, and my resume had one credit on it, which was Heathers. and no, I didn't get it.
No,
But it's like,
but good.
You have to at some point, just like you did. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you're on the Brady Bunch. How did you get the show? What was your experience on the show? You only worked there. This is an experience in your life that's just a month and a half, 6 weeks, right? And we can do this time-wise, but it's probably better to do this chunk here because it's not like your life ended after this. But for the rest of your life, this is what you're fucking recognized for. I've never had that experience for one part. What is that like, and how do you deal with it? I mean, is it...
Well, in my time, I used to describe it as, have you ever had a summer job, working like at a fast food place for the summer?
Right.
And then, after 6 weeks, you go back to school or whatever, and for the rest of your life, people walk up to you and go, you worked at the Burger World, didn't you? I'm like, what? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we love that place. Yeah, it's just, but I've come around. For a while there, I was concerned that would be the only big one.
Right.
That I, like that quarterback that talks about the night, when he was 18, when he won the game. I don't want something that happened when I was 9 to be the biggest thing I ever did.
Right.
So, or at least
what was the credit that cleared that
at least
off
have
your
it
ledger?
have it be perceived that way. I think Turtles. Probably.
That's a good one. Yeah, that would be my guess. I just wanted to know what you thought, because I had the same thing with Little House and Summer School. The Summer School kind of made me a teen actor instead of a kid actor.
Oh God, you're so good in it too. It's such a great.
Oh, thanks, man.
You and Shawnee Smith, right?
Right. So I was going to talk about Iron Eagle. So it was between me, Jason Gedrick, and I'm sure some other body for Iron Eagle. I obviously didn't get it.
You were up for the lead of Iron Eagle?
It was seriously, and usually I don't say this because it seems really ridiculous, but yes, it was. I knew it was between me and Jason, and we heard there was some kid from New York. There was always a kid from
I
New
would
York.
have given you so. I'd be like, well, you're no Jason Gedrick.
Exactly. but Iron Eagle, so you do this Iron Eagle movie when you're a teenager, and you and Brad Savage, this kind of like echoed each other, where it made me feel like his stuff in Red Dawn was the same thing as your work in Iron Eagle. They were both these war movies in the 80s where you guys were honestly hired not because you were Oliver or not because he was from Red Apple Gang or Red Dumpling Gang or Apple Dumpling Gang, but because you guys went in, auditioned, and got the job. Yeah. But yeah, you worked with a ton of people on Red Dawn, or not Iron Eagle. There's Shawnee, and who else was in that one?
Larry B. Scott was in it.
Larry B. Scott.
Rob, what's his name? Who was
Melora.
One of the Cobra Kai guys. Everybody in that movie went on to do bigger things but me. Thanks for bringing it up. I appreciate it. It's nice.
So Brady Bunch starts your career. Iron Eagle ends your career. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robbie Rist.
It was
Good night, everybody. Okay, but there's a lot of stuff in between there.
This is what I mean now, though, that Brady Bunch is kind of the end of Act 1. Like, okay, it's like my first. It's a big job. And I had done other jobs, but this one, is a major network television show. And the next thing I get is Lucas Tanner.
Right? With David Hartman.
David Hartman, yeah. And that, unlike Brady Bunch, it's funny, it was unspoken, but, my mom had to help me learn my lines, especially early on, until I started going, Mom, I'll do it myself. At a certain point, though, up to a certain point, she was my line reader, right? And Lucas Tanner gets into some serious emotional stuff. And it is so the polar opposite of what the Brady Bunch was. But here's Elfrida and me. We're like, okay, your grandmother's dying in the hospital. Go! But also I'm only putting this all together now, and this may all change, but it seems like, I don't attach myself to a genre. I think you're probably, as an artist, somewhat similar. I don't attach, there are people that are like, I want to do serious movies.
Right.
I'm like, I just want to do movies. I come from a time.
I want to work. It's like, it's all about just give me a job on a set somewhere.
I come from a time when, my wife, Allie, frequently during the day while she's, just puttering around the house, she'll have the Love Boat channel on Pluto on the television, just kind of going all day. And I'll walk through the house doing whatever I'm doing, and I'll look up and I'll be like, oh my God, that's Joanne Flug. Right? So now I bring up her name because there used to be this thing called the middle class character actor that is completely gone now. You're either a complete nobody struggling, or you've gotten on a series and now you just kind of work all the time for a few years. And that's kind of what
Jerry Hardin is a perfect example of that. A guy that has worked forever. Gene Hackman before that was, a working actor, and then they grow into something else, or they get a job that elevates that people know them.
But
you're exactly right. Yeah.
Herb Edelman, Harold Gould. Didn't
Herb Edelman was on Big John Little John? Was that your other aspect of it? He was on Big John Little John.
I know him mostly for Golden Girls, but yes,
right.
He and I worked on Big John Little John together. But but it was there was a middle class character actor person who kind of bumped around from show to show. This week they're on Matlock. Next week they're on Heart to Heart.
You're a middle class child actor. I mean,
but
you were in Grady, Petrocelli Medical Center. What's happening? Then you do 3 episodes of the Bionic Woman. What's that? What was that arc? And it sounds to me already like you had something for Lindsey.
I still have somewhere on my property a piece of needlepoint that she made for me.
Heart.
That's how she, killed time in between shots and stuff. Yeah, and she made one for me.
With her bionics, she must have been able to make a ton.
I mean, it was fast. Like, brrr, brrr. She was like a human 3D printer. So, yeah, I mean, at that, there have been jobs that even at that time I was like, fuck, I would be a Bionic Woman. And I'm 8 or 9, whatever, 10 tops.
That's
right?
the age. That and Galactica, those we got to talk about later.
Oh, no, I'm on the
Galactica
crappy
fan.
one. I'm on the crappy one.
Still, you're still there though. I mean,
I know. Look, I'm part of the legacy. It's an honor. Don't get me wrong. But in that, I am to Galactica as Jake Lloyd is to Star Wars.
oh my God.
It's true.
That's really harsh
It's true.
on both of you. On both of you. But,
You could argue that we're both in the crappy ones.
Tell me the love story of the Bionic Woman.
Oh, anyway, so yeah, no, I was a Steve Austin. I started, of course, as a Steve Austin guy. This is before the Bionic Boy and the Bionic Dog.
Right, the Vince Van Patten version of the Bionic world.
So, so I was a big fan of that. And the episode where she becomes the Bionic Woman, it was part of the $6 Million Man thing.
Right.
Okay, remember when I said I like sad things? I like melancholy
That was
things?
a heavy-duty episode where she had trouble adjusting to her bionics.
And she dies, basically.
Right.
I mean, oh no, and they, I was like, hey, I like those two. That bad things aren't supposed to happen to good people.
Right.
So,
especially heroes.
So I got to be on the thing, and she was super sweet, super friendly. Never spoke to her again, but whenever I had the opportunity, I'd be like, if you ever see Lindsey Wagner, you may have worked with her. If you ever see Lindsey Wagner, just let her know that I'm still
that you're still out there
creeping on her. Yeah, it's sad. So yeah. I got
okay,
to
so
do
let's
that.
you're just always working. Obviously, like I said, every year has got a credit or more. So you do these 3 episodes of Bionic Woman. Again, people have to understand 3 networks. You're all over the TV pretty much all the time, and now
so are you, and all
yeah.
of the names mentioned earlier.
Absolutely,
Christian
but
Jutner,
I mean, it's a small, Lance Kerwins of the world. It's a small world, right? So on Saturday mornings, they had a lot of live action shows, and you do this show, Big John, Little John, which my guess was, hey, Freaky Friday did really well. Let's do a TV show. Is that close?
I wonder. I don't know. I never asked them that question. To me, Big John, Little John is the Schwartzes apologizing to Joyce Bulifant.
Wow! For
not putting her in the Brady show. They're like, all right, we got another.
What
show.
is that story? She was supposed to be Mrs. Brady.
Yeah, she was supposed to be Carol Brady. And because Florence Henderson wasn't available, I believe, she was working on something else, and then she became available, and they're like, we're going with her. And so, yeah. So I think sometimes I think that at least there's a little bit of, hey, look.
But that's a pretty high concept. I can see the casting, but I mean, it was you and Dan Edelman as the same guy, and like something about the Fountain of Youth where you were the same guy at different ages.
So Herb Edelman plays a junior high school science teacher who, while on vacation in the Florida Everglades with his family, gets lost. And he gets thirsty, and he stops and just takes a quick drink of water. It turns out that it was the Fountain of Youth. But he didn't drink enough, so he would be a kid forever. He now goes back and forth between being an adult and a child.
That's awesome. I love it.
It's really cute. It's funny to watch it now. There's a whole bunch, and it's funny, but there's a whole bunch of jokes that I don't know if they play so well today. There's like a black kid who said, I look like I dipped my hand in chocolate or something like that. And, and you're like, oh my, some of it's a little jarring.
And again, there's like 5 people who were black in the town. It was Todd Bridges, Jeffrey Jacquet, and a couple other guys
It's
that
true.
were really
No,
great guys. But like they would look at Larry B. Scott, they'd look at you like, "Oh, what am I doing this week? This is stupid shit."
I do these turtle things with Brian Tochi.
I know
And
Brian. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian was Takashi in Revenge of the Nerds, but he's also in the Police Academy. Brian has we met as kids. Brian has a resume that is, I mean, get my jaw up off the floor, kind of like, oh my god. And then he was in that, and I mean, his "and then I wrote" is like, holy Jesus, you know. Yeah, again, he and I have talked about this, how back then there were only a couple of Asian kids that were up for everything.
I did this movie called Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College, the third Ghoulies movie.
I love it.
And it was...
I'm so jealous! That's
Right?
the stuff I wanted to do! It is! I love it.
And basically it's Animal House with ghoulies in it. Okay, so it's a good premise. And so one of the extras was always doing this great bit in the background. And so me and this other guy ended up talking to the producers saying, let's Taft-Hartley. You got to Taft-Hartley this guy. And they Taft-Hartley'd him. And then my dad, who had an agency, like signed him. And that ended up being a guy named Matthew Lillard, who went on to Scream and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? But there was this other guy who was playing the Asian guy with the sideways cap and he loved his stereo. And the ghoulies destroyed his stereo during one of these parties. And in this scene, we come in and he sees his destroyed stereo and he goes, Mr. Yamabachi, what have they done to you? What have they done? Cut. Patrick, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I doing this part? The guy was like, he goes, I go, look, man, it's funny. And he goes, but I'm doing this horrible, Asian stereotype. I go, it's just what it is. He was Jason Scott Lee, who would then later play Bruce Lee and Rapa Nui and the Jungle Book. I mean, just a huge, huge guy. So you never know where everything is going to end up. But back in the day,
you say yes to European parents, maybe, but I didn't just hear it from them. I heard it from working actors. You don't say no to work.
No, I literally I teach acting,
whatever
working
the
acting
thing
school.
is,
It's all about working.
I have this
because you don't know what you're going to learn, and it's the experience. I don't know. It'd be great if I was a Daniel Day-Lewis level talent, but sadly, I have way more credits than Daniel Day-Lewis, and I've gotten to spend a lot more time on sets and do the thing that I really love. And poor Daniel Day is struggling by with just maybe 10 movies or whatever he's done.
That's right. God, I wonder what pads the sadness in his life. Lots of
probably
cash.
the Oscars.
Yeah, I have this friend, Julie Dolan. She's the voice of Princess Leia, and
sweet. That's a sweet gig.
And she's probably the closest thing to a middle class actor that I know of that's alive today, because she's done one-off. She's been a judge in this, and she's been a prostitute in this, and she's been a whatever and different scientist in this. She moves around a little bit, but in her time, she's also been a walking, like those things at amusement parks, the walk-arounds.
Yeah, the characters.
She's done that work. She's done it really talk about earning it the old-fashioned way. She's just like, hey, do you know the joke about the guy who follows the elephants out of the ring at the at the circus, and a guy asks him, why would you do this, or why don't you quit? And the guy goes, what, and quit show business? It's the the thing.
Well, look, if you look at Bryan Cranston was like an extra or a voice on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Yep.
There was this Ruth Negga who was, I don't know if she won the award, but was nominated for an Academy Award for, I think, a Green Book, or I forget the name of the movie. She's at the Academy Awards in the same year where she played an Inhuman on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Right? Literally the same, that was her year of work, an Academy Award winning movie and a multiple run on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I've always loved that, where I saw, I know we're going way, way deep on this, but It was
do it.
Oh God, what was his name? I'm gonna forget it. He starred in Babe, Pig in the City. He works like a ton. He was in L.A. Confidential. I'm gonna have to look this up. Just,
right.
James Cromwell.
To the wiki.
So James
Cromwell. Yeah.
So James Cromwell, again, he was nominated for something, and the Academy Awards were coming up. And I'm go to Sheila Manning for an audition, and this old guy sitting in the corner doing his dialogue, and it's James Cromwell. And it's like he's there for an audition for a commercial. It's like, yeah, that's what you do. That's what you do.
I was at I-7 at the time, and they had, all my favorite actors are people nobody knows. So so I go in and I get my copy and I sit down. I'm reading my words, and I look up, and who's sitting across the lobby from me is John Saxon.
Oh, cool!
Right? But in most human beings, you'd be like John Saxon, they'd go, what? Right? So I refer to him as the B-movie Charlton Heston.
Absolutely a great comp. Absolutely.
He was on Dallas also. He's done, he was on television series. He did a lot of work. But he just a hero act. Everything I ever saw him in, I'm like, see, that's how you do a cool guy. I'm really big fan. So he's sitting across the thing, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, now I can't concentrate because, it's John Saxon. And I'm like, John Saxon, I'm trying to read my words. John Saxon is over there. And I should say to God, excuse me, sir. And he looks up from his script. And I go, are you John Saxon? And he says, well, yes, I am. And I'm like, you've had exactly the kind of career I would have loved to have had. And he looks at the script, looks back at me, and goes, why? So he feels it too. You know what I mean?
It's so funny.
For all of the stuff that he's done, he's still like, really? Why?
I was talking on this show to Chris Parnell, who is on SNL, and he's done all these great funny movies. He's on Rick and Morty, and it's the same thing. He's like, well, I hope I work again. It's like, it's that feeling that because it is a, once you got to build the next thing as the other thing's going away. When we did JAG, I did 224 episodes. We did 10 years. It was a huge hit. I was a star of the show. I was number 4 on the call sheet. Everything that you would imagine would be like, well, this guy's got it made. And it's like, well, my first audition after JAG, I walk into a casting office I've always gone to. And they go, what have you been doing? Where are you? What you been up to? It's like, I was on a TV show for 10 years. Like, doesn't that count? And it's like, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
It really doesn't. No, it's only, you did that. That's great. That's awesome.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Go do the next
thing.
thing.
So I want to get to this one show that really fascinated me just as a fan, and something that, like, I think is like a key to you on some level is Kid Video.
Yeah. What about it?
Kid Video was a TV show, again, on Saturday morning. Who are the guys behind it? Not Saban. Was it Saban or someone else? Okay, there you go.
Yes, it was.
By the way, thank you for the Saban health centers all across Los Angeles. I'm sure that's your residuals and money that paid for those.
It was on the back.
Tell us about Kid Video. Break down the plot, which was really cool, and I want to talk to you about the music.
In the video music revolution was a couple of years old. It probably busts open in 82, 83. Somewhere around 84, Haim Saban, who had a couple of hits in Israel, decided he wanted to do an American television show. So he comes up with this idea, where he buys this idea.
Steals this idea.
Steals this idea. It is.
I don't know who said that.
So I call him one of the great white collar criminals of the last century. This idea of a band, a live rock band from, just regular filmed rock band, become kidnapped and dragged into a cartoon world by this evil villain called the Master Blaster, who somehow collects music but only to hold on to it, not to share it with anyone. And he has 3 flunkies, the copycats.
The flip side was the other world.
And the
right?
flip side is the other world. And
I always thought of him as Saul Zaentz, by the way.
In a way, it's kind of a throwback to the 70s in that, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but Land of the Lost, Lidsville, and H.R. Puffin stuff are all television shows. They're archetypes that don't happen on children's television anymore.
Right.
They're all television shows about children that can't go home. And
wow, you're right.
I think this is part of the reason I'm the way I am, and I think there's a melancholy that runs through the people that are around our age because of things like that. We grew up with television shows on Saturday mornings that were saying, "Hey, these kids can't get home," and even if you don't necessarily feel that, it'll get you kind of navel-gazy. So and Kid Video does a similar thing. It's about they can't get home. And they always end up.
That was you, Steve Altman. Who else was in the band?
Gabrielle Rossi at the time, Nelson now, Brian Mancini.
Brian, that's right.
Right, who another one of us. His
Brian
parents,
Scott at the time, or before.
Yeah, Brian
that.
Scott, right. And he had a run in show business. That's I can see the ones. What is your experience? Do you come out of all of that going, yeah, ups and downs being what they are? I think it was the right experience, or is there a ton of regret?
No regrets. Loved everything about it. I mean, I benefited from being on Little House, which had other kids there all the time. I wasn't segregated to being like the kid. Honestly, I had a very good experience. Always, you can't get away from running into bad people along the way, but there are bad plumbers, there's bad electricians, there's bad anybody. So it's just people. I had a great time. How about you? Do you have regrets?
Like I said, no. Well, how about this? Whatever the ups and downs are all about, I would not trade it for anything. I think
that's totally fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade this experience for anything, because also it's there have been regrets. I've had a few. I mean, there's been moments of like, oh Jesus, Bob, what were you thinking? And then other times of we are the champions. So I mean, as a career goes, I look at it this way. They haven't fully kicked me out yet. That's for somebody who never really wanted to have a job, that's pretty good.
No, I relate to that more than anything, and I found by telling stories, ended up telling these stories in short form on YouTube and TikTok, that I do love this business, and the stories all, like when you end up telling a lot of different stories and they all kind of have the same through line, which is, isn't it great? The bad things, just like any bad day or any bad experience, it's like, unlike, I think, Olympians who train their entire life up till 25 and then they're in the Olympics and then they're done and they can never be in the Olympics again, roughly. It's not the same with actors,
No, look at the kid that was in Goonies. He, for all intents and purposes, that guy disappeared.
Oh my God, yeah. Or
And
Jackie Earle Haley, who did disappear, yeah.
Jackie, totally.
Right. So, I mean, it's literally, there's nothing stopping you and I from accepting our Oscars next year. It doesn't matter. I mean, it could be, it could, or if it never happens, I still have as much fun doing MethGator as, you know, I did doing Little House, honestly.
Right.
Because it's just a stupid business to begin with.
Well, wait a minute. Look, it's okay. You know, I do a lot of these pop culture conventions now because of the turtle thing.
Yeah.
You know? And I've come to the realization that the world really has to get behind this concept of it being an grow up world.
What do you mean by that?
Well, at a certain point in history, if you were a 40-something-year-old guy and you collected Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys, you would be surrounded by people going, "Why are you doing that? The grown-ups don't do that. That's not how grow up. Come on, there's a time to leave.
Get
this
a
stuff
life."
behind." But the truth is, and as actors, I think we understand this going into it. Is when it's a way of hanging on to that innocent part of you that this is something I teach in acting, is that when we were kids, if somebody got an appliance in the neighborhood, you know, while they were plugging it in, that box stood on the front lawn before mom came down and broke it down with a box cutter. Well, in many cases, that box was taken over by the neighborhood kids to become a fort or a spaceship or any number of things, castle, right? And when you were in that box, you know, playing cowboys and Indians, you saw in your mind the picture of everything else that wasn't the box. You saw the logs that made up the thing. You saw all of it in your mind. And at a certain point, the world starts telling us to stop doing that. And many of us do. And so we use some imagination, but to let that thing just fucking fly, we're kind of, you got to temper that stuff. Well, performers, just art people in general, our job, it partially, is to always be playing cowboys and Indians. Like we're 5. Except now the Cowboys and Indians has, you know, a weapons expert who, you know, they hired who was in Vietnam or whatever.
And an intimacy coordinator for those real special cowboy and Indian episodes.
but yeah, it's that's one of the great things of what we do.
You teach acting, I teach acting, and my favorite class is the kids because they're already there. It's not, I don't have to break down any of the preconceived, be really angry, and that guy's having trouble being angry because he's an adult and he's been told to lock it down, where the kids are just like freaks. They just go immediately. I have this thing, I don't know if I'll probably cut this part out, but just talking to you, I have this exercise called puppet therapy, where I have the kids get a puppet, and then I send them into therapy with 2 different characters. So like they're a parent, and then their puppet is their kid, or they're a boyfriend and a girlfriend, or they're friends, and they do the puppets. Holy shit, like some of the most amazing work by 12-year-olds. And I put it into my adult class, and it was just like they couldn't figure it out. They couldn't get around. Like, well, what is it that I'm doing? So.
Yeah. Well, because play as a young person is open-ended. Grown-ups like results. Like, I'm doing it now. And the thing is, we're, especially as a performer, you're never doing it. You're always trying to do it. There's no end.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no it's like, oh, I've finished learning about singing. Good.
Right.
Oh, that's all I'll ever learn about it. I'm done.
Right. Yeah. I'm Nancy Wilson. I know it all.
That's right.
Okay, so
Good night, everybody.
going back to Kid Video.
Yeah.
I just gotta know. It was obviously, I'm sure they had a formula: 2 videos and 3 songs, or whatever it was. Were you writing on the show, or what?
A live action video of the band performing at the end of every episode, plus a video or two of an established artist that was being played on MTV at the time. This is part of the problem that it never sort of saw a repackaging.
They couldn't get the clearances.
License. Yeah, I don't think Lionel Richie is going to want to, renegotiate his kid video 30-second whatever. He's like, yeah, $4 million. So
right.
Yeah. So, but interestingly enough, someone has on YouTube. He has a channel called YouTube Uncut, and this person has taken all of the episodes, reassembled them in their original orders, and remastered the whole thing.
I've got to look at that.
I must say, some people have a lot of time on their hands. It's unbelievable. So yeah, and so we did. So Brian is the only one that got to write a song for it. There's a song called Time. It's actually really, really good. It's a really good tune. And
now,
and
did
then
his dad own Magnolia? Was that the studio?
Yeah,
that his dad
Devonshire.
ran? Yeah.
Devonshire Studio.
Devonshire. That was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a matter, I'm not sure if I'm talking out of school right now, but I think Brian's acting money paid for it.
I could see that. Brian worked a lot. I mean, that's
Brutal. Oh no, there. The parents who did a number on their kids, and they're out there, and we probably know more than one of them.
Yeah.
I hope they keep hell hot for these people. Making your child be the center of your family's financial well-being. What is wrong with you? I mean, that kind of thing went out, maybe during Moses, that was kind of going on, but not now. Just terrible.
Well, I talked with Keith Coogan, who the funniest thing I've heard as a kid actor is that he never had a Coogan account. It's like, okay. But yeah, I mean, he tells the story of his grandpa, obviously. I mean, it's just literally like, that's
but his mom, I think his mom
trope.
didn't even acknowledge the fact that was his grandfather until like a certain age.
She wouldn't let him. Yeah, she wouldn't let them use the name for a long time until he finally. Anyways, we'll be back after these messages. Hey there, my name is Patrick Labyorteaux, and I play an actor on TV. And I also have this acting school called Working Actors School. And what we do there is we teach people to act using Zoom. So you can take an acting class with me and with a person in Connecticut, in Florida, and San Diego all at the same time, thanks to the miracle of Zoom. But we also teach kids. We have a great class called the Youth Weekly class that's every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. And it's for kids. It's for like 10 to 17. And we have a great group of kids right now, and it is ongoing. So if you know someone that wants to get into acting and has never done any acting but would love to try, why don't you have them try starting off with Youth Weekly? Just go to workingactorschool.com and check us out. It's Youth Weekly every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. Act 3, present day. When did the music thing get you? As far as when did you start playing? Since you were a little kid?
Yeah, I was playing violin at 3.
Oh, wow.
And then piano at 5. And then guitar at 7 or 8. And then bass and drums at 13. And then, and then I was a lonely teenager, so I spent most of my time in my room learning how to play songs on things.
I just remember seeing you. I thought, damn, this motherfucker is the bravest guy I know.
What?
It was, you had a flying V, like leather chaps, and you were at high school. And you were going to high school with this stuff, and I'm like, oh, he really does fucking know who he is. I mean, it wasn't like a joke. You weren't pretending. What was, not Grant, where were you at? You were up in the North Valley.
Woodland. Well, I was in Woodland Hills.
Woodland Hills, yeah. So you've been playing music, then you get into music.
Okay, always in music, never not.
Okay.
Yeah, it was something I was concurrently doing, and as a matter of fact, after a certain point, I would say probably 13 or 14, I formulated a plan. I was going to fund my music career with acting.
That's back that up with some poetry, and you've got a solid foundation.
But yeah, I was just like, and so and to speaking to that, of course, the joke applies. Do you know how to make a small fortune in music?
How?
Start with a big fortune. So there was a lot of that, but outside of a period of like in my 40s, I didn't work very much, so I really took off on doing classes and doing people's voiceover demos and things like that.
Right.
Mostly, I'd do an acting job and I'd, get a piece of gear, or that would pay for rehearsals or what have you. And so I was a live performer pretty much nonstop from like 16 on.
Now, this is around the time that we reconnected, because we stopped, at some point we stopped seeing each other in the acting rooms, but then I saw you in the voiceover rooms, and we would do voiceovers. I can't name it, but I know we've done voice work together. We've just never been on camera together.
We have, your brother and I have.
Yeah, please pronounce this correctly so my anime-loving son doesn't hate me. Naruto? Naruto. Thank you. It's all over your IMDb. Is this one of those things where you get this part? Can you tell me the name? Because I know it, but I can't. I don't want to mess it up.
So Naruto is it's an anime about teen wizards, and I've been doing it since 2006.
Right.
And then
what's the character's name?
Choji Akamichi is his name.
Thank you.
And his special power is, well, originally it was that he could turn himself into a giant spiky ball and roll over people. But then he also could become a butterfly. And it turns out to be this, like, it's an interesting kind of thing, because 2006 I start doing this anime thing, and it's, this, Patrick, it's $65 an episode. Right. So I'm like, okay, you go where the work is, might turn into something else. 65, two episode guarantee per session, $120. Look, it's real money, fine, right? Considering the fact though that if I were to do a cartoon the same day, I would make $700. It's
right.
The skewed view of the world. So, I start doing them, but I'm like, doing the work, and it's a way of definitely keeping current. You know what I mean? You're doing the automatic dialogue replacement, as well as having to act and do all this stuff. So there's all this positivity that goes along with it. And I start doing these pop conventions, and I'm putting the pictures out. But people are like, oh yeah, Naruto. COVID. Naruto was on Netflix, and then everyone who had a Netflix account must have seen it. Because now it's ridiculous. It's every one of the, like, it's starting to eclipse.
Is there a pop? Does your character have a pop?
Yep.
No. I
actually have 5 pops.
See, this is where, so now we get into the real nitty gritty. When you go to these conventions, right? And I do these conventions as well. I can do a Little House convention, or I can do a pop culture convention.
Yeah, summer school or
Comic-Con or whatever. But for me, it's Little House.
Heather's. Yeah.
But still, those are small. If you have a pop, holy shit. There's a guy I was sitting next to at Comic-Con. Well, first of all, I was sitting at Comic-Con not signing anything. There was a Abraham Lincoln lookalike guy who was making bank by signing Abraham Lincoln on pictures of himself because he looked like Abraham Lincoln. And then over here, there was a line, and there was guys with pallets of pops, and this guy was signing this guy named Bryce Pappenbrook because he's got all of these different pops. So yeah, the level is, if you've got a pop, then you know you're going to have a successful weekend. So congratulations on that.
I sure hope. Well, yeah, okay. So it's like 3 Mikeys and a Choji. And I was in this Luc Besson movie called
the Valerian.
Yeah, and so for a movie that completely donked,
but still is very good. You
for
should
it.
go see it if you don't know about it. I
enjoyed it. I thought it's a really good movie. Yeah. So we're the little elephant-looking guys who share information. So they all finish each other's sentences.
Oh, very cool. Yes. Okay, I got that.
And the funny thing about that finishing each other's sentences thing is, if anybody wants to know the value of improv theater, there is a game that they play in improv called The Experts, where the host of the show, in upended commas, asks the audience about a topic. And the 3 other people are the experts. And they have to go one word at a time, saying an answer to the question that the audience member asked. Right? And in this movie, I got to actually do that. Because we're like, we're finishing each other's sentences.
Who were your other guys that you were working with?
I did this in improv. I don't remember now. If I saw their names, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, that's a great credit. So you do all these voiceovers. We're doing voiceovers together. There's this incident that I was wanting to, just not an incident, but just like this experience that I still can't, I want to talk to you about because I can't believe it happened. We had just done an audition, I think, at Voicecaster, and then me, Quentin Flynn, and you went off to lunch. And then I think it was you who said, hey, Cheap Trick is playing. You want to come see Cheap Trick? And we go to the Sepulveda Recreation Dam Center, which is kind of like a park, an open-air park, where Cheap Trick was playing. Now, I'm sure everyone is imagining a concert shell and like a huge group of people. It was like a 1-foot-high bandstand where Cheap Trick, all Cheap Trick, not like Cheap Trick with special guest, who's not really there. It's like the real Cheap Trick playing, and like people wandering around, like, and it was just me, you, and Q, and I couldn't get over why they were there. Did this really happen? Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, and the Tubes opened for them.
What? The Tubes?
Yeah,
I didn't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And
but why was it so sparse? What do you have any idea what that was?
I think it was another time. It was another time, a fair time, when people would just go, we're going to put up a stage and do a show. If anybody shows up, it'll be great. And there we go. Yeah. Los Angeles used to have all kinds of really kind of cool impromptu stuff like that. There used to be concerts in record store parking lots and whatever, all of these different things. Everyone's at home now.
Whenever I think of Cheap Trick and the Tubes and you, I think that's the power pop idea of what it is.
Well, if there's a Cheap Trick show, chances are I was there back then. I was a really big fan.
The next time I saw Cheap Trick was at the House of Blues with my future wife. It was our first date. Mm-hmm. So it was like a big, big deal. Okay, so here we are. We're going through all of this stuff here. Dude, with your music, I just got to read out some of these other things that you've been in just so that it gets out there. You were on Balto, Carmen Sandiego, Extreme Ghostbusters, Blues Brothers, Godzilla, Lilo and Stitch. You did a bunch of Final Fantasy games where I think you're just working with like background stuff and NPCs. But did you do the looping thing? You said you worked with my brother. Were you in a loop group at any point?
I was. Before. I never took any lessons or anything. So
right.
Sometimes, like for looping, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I just knew I was supposed to show up for looping. So I was just kind of listening to what everyone else was doing, and I think I may have been just too loud. Like you're supposed to blend in. But listen to my voice. I have a buddy who, when we were younger, he was mixing something that I was singing on, and he stopped and he went, Rob, if you were singing in the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, someone in the back of the room could go, there's Rob. It's like, it just cuts through everything,
Interesting.
So Yeah, cuts through everything too loud. Yeah, so definitely looping. It seems like it's one of those opportunities that I donked, and I never really had a second opportunity. So looping.
Yeah, it's a very closed system. Usually you get one try, and if it worked,
Steve Alterman from Kid Video was in Barbara Harris's loop group.
Right, and so was Ike, and all these guys were just like, and my brother, when they did Mad Dogs, was a big part of Mad Dogs with Ike. But you did work with my brother on Whiz Kids, or did you not actually work with him, or were you just
we would definitely have scenes together. I'm fairly positive. Okay. Yeah. All
right, so let's talk.
With Ike.
Well, I guess not. I mean, you would know.
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm like,
I mean, saw him around, of course, and his brother as well.
Yeah, good old Al, crazy Al. Okay, so how did you meet Anthony Ferrante and started working with him? And do you have, because you've been doing a lot of music and a lot of work with Anthony, and then I'll just encapsulate this whole thing and just close down my mouth for a minute. And then I ended up doing a movie called MethGator, which when I saw the cut, I ended up seeing that you were in MethGator. I was also in Sharknado, It's About Time, which you were also in. So we've done a couple of movies, but we've never worked together. Mm-hmm. How do you, Anthony Ferrante is the guy that created and directed Sharknado and a bunch of other great movies for the Asylum and for other people. How did you find Anthony, and how do you guys work together?
So, a guy who songwriter, punky poppy songwriter I know, has a band called Martin Luther Lennon. Genius. Anyway, Tony Perkins is his name. Tony used to work at Tower in Sherman Oaks, the one on Ventura next to the Lorena Theater there.
Yep.
And so one of his workmates was this guy named Regent St. Clair, had a band called Castle Black. These are all names you should look up. And then there was a friend of Regent's who used to come in all the time, this kid Anthony, and he was 22 or something, and he fledgling filmmaker and whatever, and I'm always looking for something to do, and I'm like, if you need any assistance, let me know. So I start doing little music stings and stuff for his little short films, and then he eventually is given money to make a low budget ghost movie called Boo, and he said he can't afford the licensing. He started playing me some temp stuff, and he goes, I can't afford the licensing on Aerosmith or whatever. So can you write me something that's close,
right?
So without getting me sued, and I haven't gotten him sued yet, so I guess that's good. So and then this became kind of it's a sort of a thing that we did. He'd finish up a project, directing it, and in the editing process, he and I would get together, and because again can't afford licensing, we'd try to get versions of things that are close anyway. Like the Sharknado theme is like he had the Ramones. I'm like, I know who they are, so it's a punky poppy whatever. So, and this is now something that we've done for a while now. He was working on. So the Asylum does these shark movies, but they also do things called mockbusters, which are low-budget versions of big movies that are going to be coming out. So when Battleship came out, they did American Battleships, and they Hansel and Gretel. They did a Hansel and Gretel, big-budget Hansel and Gretel movie. So I
just last year I wrote a movie for them where the tentative title was Tornado Apocalypse, but came out as The Twisters the week that Twisters came out.
The soul of Corman lives on.
Their whole business model is confused businessmen who are buying a video at the hotel. My favorite version of their titling was when they did a movie called Titanic 2.
That's genius. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but this is the company, the Asylum.
So we're in the middle of he's in the middle of making the Hansel and Gretel film, and I I made a movie in 2006, or came out in 2006, called Stump the Band. It's a story of a female rock band who gets attacked by 3 guys who collect women's feet. And, I was trying to
comedy.
So we're, apparently, what's his name? Cameron Crowe, he loves it, apparently.
That's awesome.
You know Bill Holmes, right? Do
No.
you?
Who's Bill Holmes?
You don't know Bill Holmes, the voiceover doctor? We'll have to talk about Bill.
Oh,
anyway.
yes. Yeah. I'm
So
sorry.
he helped.
I didn't have the right context.
He and I made this movie together. So I was looking for distribution, and the Santa Monica film market was going on, and I had a meeting with somebody or whatever, and on the way out, I passed by the asylum booth, and in front of the asylum booth is a flag that says Sharknado. Enough said. And there's a shark in a tornado. And like the 9-year-old boy in me went, what? What? And all of a sudden, I turn into Christopher Guest in Little Shop of Horrors. I peek my head in the door. I'm like, excuse me? Are you guys making a movie about sharks and tornadoes? And they look up from their desks somewhat uncomfortably, and they're like, yeah? I'm like, that's the best thing ever. So I go home, because, I love nature run amok films. I just, the dumber the concept, giant spiders, all of it, Empire of the Ants, the Food of the Gods, all of these movies are like, it's just gold to me, right? So sharks and tornadoes, what are you kidding me? So I'm working on songs with Anthony, and Anthony's sitting in the little chaise lounge I had, what I called the client chair, and so I'm working on whatever, and Anthony's looking at his iPad, and he's like, yeah, so the Asylum offered me this movie. I'm not sure if I'm going to take it or not. It's called Sharknado, and I don't even remember standing up. But I jumped up out of my chair and I grabbed Anthony by his lapels. Now, Patrick, you know Anthony. He's not the most emotionally forthcoming guy,
No.
right, on the planet. He's a little reserved, a little insecure maybe, a little. So I have his lapels in my hands. And I'm like, listen to me. And all he's doing is looking at my fists holding his lapels. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And I let go and I stand up and I compose myself. And I said, I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know why I had this feeling, but you have to direct this movie. And if you do, I have to be in it. And he the man stayed true to his word. He put me in the damn thing. And we, for that series, there's 6 of those movies. We wrote 45, 50 songs for it, something like that.
Whoa.
A lot of material was created.
All the music that you hear autogenously is you?
So anytime you hear a pop song in one of those movies, chances are it's Anthony and I. There's The Offspring did one in one of them, and I think they let Olivia Newton-John's daughter do one in 5 or 6. But almost everything else, just about everything else, is Anthony and I writing. Him going, I want to do a song like this. Okay, don't get me sued. Okay, and then I deliver it, and he goes, you're gonna get me sued, and I go, don't worry about it. And we've done this ever. I mean, we did a Christmas movie. We just wrote the theme for his new shark movie that he's doing. We're still doing it. So yeah.
Well, could you do us a little bit of a favor and do us a little bit of one of the songs, one of the songs that you would want to play?
All right, so wait,
just a little bit.
Yeah. Let's see. I may get this somewhat wrong, but in the swamp, it's time to rock. Killer in the water, and it ain't no crock. Best to keep your weapons cocked. If you can to just turn drugs o'clock. Hire the cook and the Sudafed. Got Godzilla's body with Rick James' head. The only thing you see that's crimson red. is off his meds. MethGator! 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 See you later, alligator! Something like that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. Good job. Good job. You know, I got a call from the producer or the director, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to be in a movie called MethGator? What's the answer?" Yes. And you can't say no to that. And then to hear that song.
Cocaine Bear, of which MethGator liberally takes its cue from. Right there. That's right up. That's smack dab in the middle of my nature run amok thing. So yeah, I was like, "Are you kidding?" And I get eaten again.
Right.
Makes me super happy. I want now in my old age. I have a goal. Maybe this will keep me going long into my old age. Of on the internet somewhere is like a 2-minute long movie of Danny Trejo dying over and over and over and over. So I have 3 now. I have Sharknado 1, Sharknado 6, and now I have MethGator. So I need more death. I need more on-screen deaths.
That would be a great supercut.
We'll be back after these messages.
Hey there, my name is Patrick Labyorteaux, and I play an actor on TV. And I also have this acting school called Working Actors School. And what we do there is we teach people to act using Zoom. So you can take an acting class with me and with a person in Connecticut, in Florida, and San Diego all at the same time, thanks to the miracle of Zoom. Now, besides classes, I also offer a one-on-one session. It's an hour just between you and me working on a particular piece of material, whether it's for an upcoming audition or maybe you're working on something and you need to have that breakthrough moment. These are really, really fun, and they're really, really great because they're really personalized and intense in all the good ways that intense can be. So if you're working on something, if you want to break through, if you want to have a one-on-one session where you're not working with other people, this is the way to do it. All the information is in the classes page on workingactorsschool.com. Act 4, questions. We are here now into Act 4, which is the questions, or as we like to call it, Tina's Gotta Know. Tina's my wife, and she has all these questions that she came up with. And our first question for you, sir, is called That's SheauxBiz. And the question is, what is the most Hollywood moment in your life?
Tina, I'm not answering that. Let me see. Most Hollywood moment. Here's a good one. I did the John Denver special, as mentioned before, and one of the guests on the show, because it's a variety show, which kind of thing doesn't really happen anymore again, was the Osmonds. And
Cool.
So I was, one of these shows, this variety sort of format that they did, it was a 4 days of rehearsal, shoot on Friday kind of shoot. And during rehearsal, I just got to see the Osmonds warm up with the song they were going to do on the show, I believe to tape. I don't remember exactly, but I think on the show they did it to tape. During rehearsal, they just sang it. And I remember as a young guy who played a little guitar and really liked songs, I was like, this is just terrific. And I think it's something that very few 8-year-old boys ever get. There's some, I'm sure, but not that many got to experience that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. No, that's great.
Yeah. So that's
Crazy
pretty show
Horses
busy, right?
Still rules. It's really show busy. Come on, it's the heart of showbiz. Seriously, I mean, when you think about it, when we're kids like that, we really don't belong in some rooms that like just sort of happen to have these, things happening.
Okay, really quick story. I apologize.
Yeah.
But, so this is an example of something that happens to a 13-year-old in entertainment that I think rarely happens to young people that are not in entertainment. So I did a movie called Having Babies Part 2. With Susan Sullivan, where she's supposed to play a gynecologist. They were trying to make a series out of it, but it never went. But so I play this kid who's adopted, and his adopted mother is Carol Lindley.
Okay.
And there's this scene where this tender scene where she's gonna, alleviate the kid's fear. There's a fear scene, and she's gonna alleviate the fear. She's gonna, in his bedroom, she's sitting on his bed. She's gonna pull him in for a hug. Now, we're setting up the shot. She's wearing a skirt. I go in rehearsal. I go in for the hug, and the director's like, "It's not. Can you maybe move your body this way around?" And finally, the director goes, "So, all right, Carol, can you open your legs a little bit, please?" And Carol Lindley goes, yeah, no problem. And then she goes, "Come on, Rob, you're going to have to learn about this eventually." Now, now it's innocent, right? It's not, I don't think that's rapey in any way.
No.
And it's also super cool, and it's a world where any other 13-year-old on the planet would not find themselves in a situation where you have to get a little deeper in between Carol Lindley's legs.
That's exactly right. And again, it's one of those stories that, 30 years ago, it's a hysterical, story from the set, and now it's, actionable and legally illegal.
Yeah.
You can't tell it.
Exactly.
Okay, well, moving on to the second question, that's SheauxBiz Part 2. What is the most embarrassing Hollywood moment in your life?
Oh, gosh. Pretty much starts in the beginning and it continues up until now. There's how do you want to explain that? Embarrassing. Let's see. Working on a Disney thing called Mystery of Rustler's Cave with Kim Richards, the aforementioned, Christian Chutner, Tony, I forget Tony's last name. I was seeing him a bunch up until my mid-20s. Anyway, so we're all in this thing, and it's cowboys and city kids on motorcycles and cattle rustlers thing that they had going during the Mickey Mouse Club series that was on at the same time, about 77, 78. There's during a battle scene at the end where all the kids, are vanquish the cattle rustlers. Kim Richards is supposed to take my hand, and I'm supposed to kick a guy in the butt, and he's supposed to fall down a hill, kind of a thing.
Right.
And 2 takes in, and I'm not doing it the way the director wants. And he's starting to get irritated with me. And he finally just says, just have Kim do it. And it takes 1 take and it's done, And I still think about that one, and I'm like, I wonder maybe the embarrassment comes from I'm not completely sure what it was that I was doing wrong.
Right. No, those are when adult humans don't, because obviously Michael Landon was great with the kids. I've worked with a lot of people that are great with kids, but when you get a guy that's not great with kids, it's just really uncomfortable, and I get the embarrassment. Yeah. It's like you don't even know why you're wrong.
Yeah, and the funny thing is he's working on a Disney thing. It's all kids.
Oh, of course. No, of course. It's just
ridiculous.
3, Sheaux Me The Money. What is your biggest missed financial opportunity? Now, I don't need numbers or anything, but like in this business, we're always rubbing noses and working with people that there's weird opportunities that always present themselves. So what's your biggest missed financial opportunity?
Well, I mean, I would say just not getting a job is a missed financial opportunity. So,
Fair.
in the same way we're talking about me to you on that one show, and Moosey and me on the other one. It was down to 3 actors, myself, someone else who I don't remember, and Michael J. Fox for Family Ties.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
missed
big one.
financial opportunity. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. I buy that one. Number 4, Sheaux and Tell. As a teenager, what was your favorite poster in your room and how'd you get it?
Well, it changes because at 13 it's Farrah Fawcett, of course.
Check.
But by the time I'm 15, it's Queen. So I'm both of those.
Fair. And where did you get them? Licorice Pizza?
Let's see. Yeah, I think I got them at not Blue Meanie. Blue Meanie was on Ventura. The one that was on Topanga and Wells, I just don't remember now. Yeah, long time ago. I'm a 61-year-old man, Patrick.
Yeah.
61-year-old man.
You're older than I am. That's all I care about. I'm still a young 60.
And always will be.
Number 5, Sheaux Down. What is the best thing you've ever done?
The worst thing you've ever done, professionally.
All right.
Like,
okay. Professionally. Oh, thank God.
Professionally, yeah. I don't want a story about
I wasn't
bodies
prepared
in the
to answer the other one. Best thing, the thing I'm most proud of is Doc McStuffins. It is a cartoon.
Cool.
That was on Disney Channel, might still be.
Yeah.
About a little girl whose mom is a doctor and her dad is a stay-at-home dad, and she wants to be a doctor. And so she plays pretend doctor's clinic with her toys as her assistants. And every week there is a guest toy that will have some sort of malady that she will have to address and help them feel better. And it just so happens that every malady that the toy will have would be something that a child might need to address. So, and so the kid sees themselves in the toy, right? So now all cartoons, the handshake you make with the devil when you do a cartoon is you're in it to sell toys. Doc McStuffins is no different. It is designed to sell toys. However, it also has this second layer to it, which is it's there to alleviate children's fear. And so these characters are drawn on the walls of children's hospitals, specifically where the really sick kids are.
Oh, man.
They are symbols of bravery. And for me, I'm never gonna heal a sick kid, although I wish I could. But if something I was involved in allows for a moment where a kid goes, "You're facing this, so am I," that's an honor. So there's that. And then the worst thing I ever did.
That's beautiful, man.
It makes me tear up every time. The worst thing I ever did was when Charlie Sheen had his first car accident. It was alcohol related, and he was in the middle of recording 7 Budweiser spots. And it turns out that if you close your eyes, and I sort of bring it down a little bit, I sound a little like Charlie Sheen. So I got these. It wasn't a sound alike, but they wanted this. And as I'm doing the commercials, I'm realizing that really these commercials are aimed at like 17, 18-year-olds, not 21-year-olds. And I started feeling a little like, I don't know how comfortable I feel with this. Even though, I mean, had any of the, it ended up not running, so hey, problem solved. But I definitely was like, you know, I'm going to be able to put in a deck, yeah, but at what cost? You know, it's like I started having these discussions because I found it kind of a shady way to advertise. So maybe that one.
Probably the two most heartfelt answers ever for that question. So good on you. No, those are amazing answers. Number 6, no show. What part did you want but didn't get?
All of them, Patrick. All of them.
I know that feeling.
All right. Which ones did I want? Okay, sometimes it's in retrospect. I remember seeing Goonies and going, damn it, I'm too old. So that pissed me off. Okay, so there was a TV movie, called High School USA. And
yes,
most of the cast was kids that were on the NBC shows of the time, like Nancy McKeon and Michael J. Fox and whatever. But there were also a bunch of character parts sprinkled through. And so, you know, I'm a Christopher Lloyd fan. I like the Jim Ignatowski character that Michael Richards plays in Seinfeld. That guy can be found. You know, Bill Daly from the Newhart Show is sort of a take on that. You know, a little bit brain dead but brilliant, you know?
Living in their own reality type of people.
Exactly, right? So, and I was really enamored with that kind of character, especially at the time. And in High School USA, there was this character, and I read for it 3 or 4 times. And, you know, 3 or 4 times, you're like, I'm going to eat this thing. Come on. This is going to be great. I don't get it. Fuck! I sit down on the premiere night of the movie, and I'm like arms folded, beer open. Show me who's taking the part that I'm going to, son of a... It was Crispin Glover, and by the end of the movie, I was like, he did that so much better than I could ever hope to. But I wanted that one, boy. There's a lot of things I wanted. Of course, we've got all these things that, you know, I want. Anything that was science fiction-y or horror-y or whatever, I'd be like, oh, come on, let's go. Let's get this one.
It's a great story. Dean Cameron, who did the podcast, tells a story about his relationship with that as well. And if it means anything now, it seems like it was always Crispin. It was just a negotiation thing that they were waiting on for it to be finished.
Oh, we know this?
Apparently, and again, I might be getting the story wrong, but it was
that because of Dean, you know that?
Yeah, I think Dean was hired at one point for that role and then fired because Crispin finally agreed to do it, and they just replaced him. Type of thing, where it was sort of like he was holding out, and they just couldn't find anybody that they liked. So, sorry, it was always Crispin. All right, favorite show, number 7. Favorite show. What movie or program has most influenced you?
Mork and Mindy, maybe something like that. Well, how about Robin Williams? Robin Williams is the first performer that I wanted to emulate. Not so much do his act as be able to process information and run it through the taffy machine and spout it back out in a completely new and hilarious way. I was like, I remember watching that show going, I want to learn how to do that. I love the show too, but you know, and then there's, you know, Cheers definitely did, Taxi did, Barney Miller did. again, it was all these sort of ensemble shows with people who were all snake killers in their own way. You know, I would, if I could be 1/3 the actor Jack Sue was, I'd consider that a victory.
His performance in Barney Miller was so, I mean, it was like, there's deadpan and then there's deadpan.
It's almost like he wasn't acting, except he was. Yeah, I know. It's just ridiculous. And I mean, yeah, there's all these people. I mean, Christopher Lloyd in Taxi. You know, he was at a convention, you know, a couple weeks ago, and you know, he seems kind of spiky. So you know, I'm not gonna. You know, I think I managed to break William Shatner's outer shell, but his seemed a little more challenging. But if I ever, this is, you know, at conventions, what I'm doing right now is what the people who come to our tables to have us sign things, this is what they do before they meet us. Okay, so if I get the chance to have one moment with Christopher Lloyd, there is a defining microsecond for me as an actor that encapsulates everything that I would like to learn how to do. And that is the episode where Jim goes from being a yuppie to a stoner.
When he bites into the brownie and there's that 1 second where he becomes Jim Ignatowski while he's in his Yale sweatshirt.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
his entire face becomes a new person. And I remember watching that and being floored by it.
I totally know the moment you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I like, man, I wish I even could begin to understand how you get into your car, onto the freeway, find the exit to even get to the neighborhood of how fucking spot on that is. Yeah.
That's amazing, because that is such a, to me, a touch point for him as a actor, and not surprisingly, also in Taxi, Andy Kaufman, when he's doing Vic Ferrari, and just the idea of, like, you know, the evolution in that one scene where he slowly becomes Vic Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah.
To all the 60s and over who know what we're talking about.
Hey, fine. You know what?
Yeah.
If you're not, look it up, dumbass. History's important.
Taxi is awesome. All right, so Sheaux Me Again. What is your favorite movie to rewatch? What do you rewatch?
Oh gosh, anytime Airplane is on, let's see, Splash, Airplane, Night Shift. Any of those three movies. Let's see, Human Centipede 2.
All comedies.
All comedy. Actually, believe it or not, I'm a really big Tom Six fan. Human Centipede 2 is a comedy. It's just,
I've not been able to broach that series of films. But
he actually even says, he calls it Vanta Black filmmaking, which is the darkest,
the blackest
comedy you can imagine. It's just so grim. He has a new movie out. Well, it's not out. He can't get distribution for it, called The Onania Club. Just go look it up. You'll.
Well, this explains Stump the Band.
It's so great. I have a real soft spot. But as far as, you know, like I said, any of those movies, if you start in the middle, no matter where the narrative is, I'm like, oh, I'll watch the rest of this thing. Sure. Big Trouble in Little China, no problem. No matter what. No matter if we're in the very beginning. You know, Jack Burton showed great bravery. From there, or how did you get up there? Was it easy? So much genius. Late in the last 10 years or so, I'm seeing fewer and fewer movies, even though that used to be, you know, back when we had casting offices, it used to be my refuge in between. Let's say you have one at 10 and one at 3.
Oh, cool.
You know what
go
I'm
and
talking
watch a
about?
movie. Yeah, yeah.
So I would just go because it's noon and nobody's there. So I have the
Yep.
theater to myself, and that feeling of the lights going down and the movie starting, and I just own the place.
Yeah.
I love movies. So yeah, at some point I got to get back on it. But also, I believe now everything's made by committee, and
Yeah.
on every set. There's no colorful characters anymore. Everyone is film school grads who are all bitter about the fact that none of them are directing.
Right.
I don't,
Right,
I
right.
just, a part of what keeps me out of entertainment at this point is, look, if you want to make a movie, I want to work with you really bad, but I don't want to audition for it. I just, look, you've seen what I can do. You know what I can do. Just believe me,
Yeah.
everything that I've been in, most everybody said, oh my God, he's really good in that. So we'll just do that because largely I hate what the business has become. The business they have reduced this goofy, renegade, house party. They've reduced the whole thing to a job. So now
Right.
you just send in your audition and either you get it or you don't.
It's like
Or-
screaming into the void. You don't know. And that's one of the reasons why I love working with the asylum. I'll do anything they ask me to do because for 5 days or a day or however long they got to shoot, you get to do some crazy shit with a group of people that are only there because they love movies. Because no one's making money. They're barely making money making these movies, but the crew is like, they want to learn, they want to know how to do this or make this or how do we make this, and it's the best experience. But I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, final question.
I'm also
Number 9.
61 and it's my right to be pissed off. So
Well, sure, you get to be the crazy old man with get off my grass. Number 9, show me some love. What's your favorite performance of mine?
Oh, well, Heather's is pretty solid. You are the dad in summer school, are you not?
I'm the football player in summer
You're the
school.
football player.
There's-
The football player.
no,
I haven't watched
was
it
not
in a
old
while.
enough to be the dad.
I
But,
haven't watched it in a while.
That's
I'm
a
gonna go
funny
with
one
it.
because I'm falling in love with Shawnee, who's pregnant. And
Right.
at no point, and there were so many scenes in that movie with me and Shawnee where we were shooting a romance, and then at the end, after everything was shot, they go, "What are we doing? She's pregnant. We can't be telling these people that they're going to hook up at the end of this movie after she's had the baby. That's not right." So,
I don't know. It shows you're a good dude.
well, I love that. Thanks for the shout out for Heather's. Okay,
Hold on,
so
wait. I want
wait.
I want to look at your IMDb really quick, okay? Because
Okay.
the thing is, like off the top of my head, nice. You get to. By the way, I think the Patrick Labyorteaux IMDb picture is your. No, it's not. It's you from a long time
It's
ago.
from Love Boat. And
Oh my
don't
God!
even get me started. IMDb will not change it unless I pay them $20 a month. And I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, I know. There you go. Past television. Where are your movies? Past
they're
film and
sprinkled.
video. Here we go. Hollywood Palms. What's that?
That's a movie that Dean Cameron and I wrote about
Really?
one night in a Hollywood apartment complex, which I'm pretty proud of.
You're in ski school. I forgot. Wait a minute. You're in MAME. You son of a. I will end you. You took that one from me.
Well,
I
there
was
you
supposed
go,
to
you
get
know.
that one. Wait a minute. You're in Blazing Saddles?
They cut me out, but yeah, I worked for a month with Mel Brooks and all those people. I had 3 great scenes, and I would love to see the outtakes from that, but they cut it all out because like, little kid's funny, but we've got like way better stuff from Harvey Korman.
Oh man, yeah, I know, but so wait a minute. Wait. See, a whole new light. So if you worked for a month, you were privy to the process.
Yeah,
Or do you remember it?
almost everything. Yeah,
Were
I
people-
remember.
it seems like everybody was-
I didn't bring up your credits here, but you were on a show, Temperatures Rising, with Cleavon Little, and I loved that show, and so I would talk to him all day long. He was great.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I'm so jealous. That's another movie. Any Mel Brooks film, if it's on, I'm gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Early Woody Allen stuff up to and including Annie Hall, and then a few ones after. It's as
Sure.
they say in Manhattan. I like your films, especially the early funny ones. Yeah, but yeah, Cleavon. So, well, yeah. There's so much. The thing is, the problem with doing this thing with you is like anyone that I've known a long time, and
Right.
we represent a sliver of the human experience. Okay?
Exactly. Yeah.
Now, there's others like us. It's not all just kid actors. There's kid singers, but there's also, like you said, the aforementioned gymnasts, right? There's mathletes. There's Pop Warner football guys. Anybody who is who excels. Anybody who excels at the at an early
Young
stage.
age. Yeah.
It's just you might as well have an arm growing out of your forehead, right? You're a mutant. It's not your fault. As a matter of fact, it should be nurtured. But at that age, it makes you a mutant because when you're a kid, your job is to disappear into the crowd. You're not supposed to stick out. That's why it's such a terrible time now with camera phones that, young people can't, vomit out the car window and have everybody forget about it.
Right.
Tomorrow it's all over TikTok.
Yeah.
So as a young performer, you're not supposed to stick up. And, there we are. Da-da-da-da-da, hello, my
exactly.
baby, whatever. So,
Michigan
so
J.
that means that the discussion, because of this sliver, you're going to have to now be on the spoon, and then I'll have to come back to this just so we can and then maybe we'll stitch the entire story together.
Epilogue.
Well, speaking of the spoon, we're in the epilogue. What do you got to plug? Tell me all about the spoon.
Okay, the Spoon is my audio cast. We're just audio, thespoonradio.com. It's large. We describe it as playing with a cat with a laser pointer. So, yeah, it's.
I like that.
Yeah, it's.
Where can people find the spoon?
It's in that Seinfeld-esque thing of it's not about anything. It's just about who we have on and the discussion that comes from it. So,
Awesome.
and we're super interesting.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah. Well, they are. So, thespoonradio.com is that.
Okay.
I have a Bandcamp page. I don't know if you know what Bandcamp is. Bandcamp.com. Look up my name on that. Got a bunch of stuff. I have a YouTube channel, a Robbie Rist YouTube channel. You can look that up. There's also, under the YouTube channels, there's Quint, which is me and Anthony Ferrante doing stuff. If you just type in Sharknado 1 through 6, there's a hilarious, speaking of famous people who I greatly admire, who are, who I never met. Gilbert Gottfried is in the video that we did for the last Sharknado, and he's genius in it. He's everything you want him to be. So there's a bunch of Quint stuff. You can look that up. Like I said, the Robbie Rist YouTube has a bunch of stuff. I have an Instagram.
Well, down in the descriptions here, I'll have all of the
I have an Instagram, and then I got a Facebook page. So I'm all
beautiful.
Just do a Google search. You'll see lots of stuff, and who knows, it might take you all kinds of crazy places. So.
Well, Robbie, thank you for joining me here on the Patrick Labyorteaux Show with Patrick Labyorteaux.
I'm sorry that you lost control of the entire thing and tried. I know
from the jump, from the second after I did the introduction.
Well, the thing is, though, I think you did an admirable job of throwing out the lasso and going, whoa, 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 let's bring it in there, cowboy, come on. So
thank you. Well, we are just at the beginnings of our career, young man. We've started when we were 6 or 7. That's how long we've known each other, literally 50 years or something. So we will continue to do what we do. And thank you again. And I will love to be on with you with the spoon.
Yeah.
Thanks
And
for
it's a
coming on
real
this show,
pleasure to talk to you. And I hope this thing is a huge success for you. You need like a buzz phrase or something that you can put on a sweatshirt.
Something like that, like pay me.
We've done it! We've done it!
It's the Patrick Labyorteaux, Patrick Labyorteaux. He's the one you gotta know.
Hey, everybody, thanks for listening. I'm really, really glad you're here and checking out the podcast. It is an audio podcast wherever you get your podcasts. It's a video podcast over on YouTube or on Spotify or wherever you get the video ones. All of my socials are Working Actors School on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube. Please check us out. If you want any information about the school, it is at workingactorsschool.com. We've got classes going on all the time. And again, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
It's the Patrick Labyorteaux, Patrick Labyorteaux. He's the one you gotta know.